So to update all of the releases that transpired.
Yeah.
First off, let's see, Rosie Nix. That was a big one, man. Pro Bowl fullback. Just he got released this week. Tyler Matakadovich didn't get released. He signed with the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
2 years, $9 million. Anthony Chickler was released as well. Ramon Foster had retired. That happened right after we did our podcast.
Right after, yeah.
Big shout out to Moan, the OG. Love that dude, man. Consummate pro, man. Like everything about that dude, man. Stand up dude, man. Undrafted to 11 years in the league, man. Big time move for him, man. So big time major shout out for him. Let's see, BJ Finney, one of the guards that we talked about potentially replacing Ramon, has signed with the Seattle Seahawks on I think it was a 2-year, $8 million. Yep. Then let's see, Matt Filer, he got a second round tender. So that's going to be around probably like $3 million for him. Mike Hilton was also receiving a second round tender. That's going to be in that $2 to $3 million
those
range.
Are just 1 year deals, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Let's see who else. And with those tenders, I want to say, and the way the tenders work is teams can still offer them contracts, but if they were to offer a deal and the Steelers didn't want to match it, then the Steelers would receive a second round pick in return for that. So a lot of times when you tender a player that you really like, you put them at the second round or first round tender, and that kind of blocks other teams from going after them.
I'm assuming, because I'm glad you brought up the numbers, the higher pick you tender, that's a higher money amount then.
Yes. So if you did an original round tender, both of those guys are undrafted, it would have been, 1.5
original round.
Yeah. So
that's wherever they were drafted.
And they're both undrafted. So it'd have been like high one. It was like 1.7, 1.8 million.
So
second round tender.
Teams could have, took them up on that then probably.
Yeah. Because they don't have to give up anything.
Yeah.
Now, if you did a second round tender, well, now you're looking at, like I said, I think it's like mid $2 million range. And then first round tender would have been a $3 million range. So Taysom Hill with the New Orleans Saints got a first round tender. So even though it's only going to pay him like $3 million, a team that wants him would have to give up a first round pick for him. And most teams aren't going to give up first round picks like that for those type of players. We saw this happen with Victor Cruz when he was with the New York Jets before he signed his extension. The Giants had tendered him like that. And even though he was a hot commodity, teams weren't trying to give up that first round pick for him.
Why were they eligible for that?
So it's when you're drafted, you're not eligible. If you're drafted, in the first 7 rounds or whatever, then the team has you for 4 years for your contract. And if you're a first round pick, then you get the 5th year option. So that's how they combat it. So the way you incentivize teams taking a chance on a guy that wasn't drafted, you tell them, well, hey, look, if you take this guy as an unrestricted free agent or as an undrafted free agent and say he produced for you in those 3 years, well, you deserve some type of compensation for him. So to incentivize that, we're going to make him restricted. So he can't just go out into the market.
You say after it's 3 years then?
Yeah,
after 3 years?
Yeah, if you're not drafted, you get a 3-year contract.
Okay.
But after that 3rd year, now the team essentially says, okay, well, I want to keep him or I want to let him leave. I want to keep him, but I only want to pay this much for him. I'll keep him, but I'm willing to pay him this much. And if a team wants to come in there and give us that pick for him, okay, cool. And that's kind of the give and take of it. Because for those guys, they can't make the argument that, man, I should be an unrestricted free agent when if that team didn't take that chance on you, you wouldn't have been in the league because they weren't drafted.
Kind of works both sides.
Mm-hmm. So that's how it works out.
I guess it would be interesting to see what those two would have got open market completely unrestricted. Or do you think around the 2-3 million a year range is what they would have got?
For both of those guys, it depends. For Matt, he probably would have got more just because he was a starting offensive lineman in this league. But for Mike, it depends on what you want from your nickel.
Because he's a limited player.
Right. In terms of he's a better blitzer and run player, but not a better cover guy. So how do you value that? Then you look at a guy like Nickel Roby-Coleman, who has signed, I think it was a $3 for $15 million deal with the Rams 2 years ago. He just was released. So now you're going to see he's more of a just straight cover corner. So, okay, what's his market going to be? So those are kind of the things that you see when you're talking about a Mike Hilton. And that's the thing that's kind of like up in the air because he's not a number 1 or number 2 corner. And that's the whole like dilemma with him. But for him, this is still going to be a substantial raise for him compared to what he's seen in the past years.
And then they'll both be unrestricted next year then.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think just that year in between helps.
It would equate it to them being a 4-year deal.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense then.
And then you have some guys, the other thing, so that's the restricted free agents. Then you have exclusive rights free agents. Those are the guys that had come in as an undrafted guy, might have been released from somebody else. Al Villanueva, matter of fact. He was an exclusive rights guy. So he didn't get drafted. He was with Philly. Philly cuts him. We sign him. We bump him up. He starts playing well. Technically, it was like a 1-year deal at the time. So when the deal was done and he became the starter, well, now he wanted to hit the market. But because the Steelers that took the chance on him, they essentially had exclusive rights to him. So no other team could talk to him because they took the chance on him. So then, okay, after that 1 year of exclusive rights free agency, then the next year he became a restricted free agent. But by then they had already worked out an extension for him. But they technically could have lowballed him for 2 years in a row before ever giving him a contract.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that just, like I said,
because he could have only played for us, especially during that exclusive rights period.
Exclusive rights, yep. He could have. It was either you play for the Steelers or you don't play at all because they took the chance on you.
Yeah.
And then when you became a restricted free agent, it's like, all right, well, we can tender you at this where we know nobody's going to touch you. And if they do, well, we're going to get a 2nd-round pick or a 1st-round pick for you. A lot of teams, like I said, they shy away from that because for them, they would much rather just draft their own guy than take a chance on somebody that might not be as proven or have done it for a long period of time.
Right.
But in this case for Al, they were able to work out a contract with him, and they kind of like settled everything. Whereas Mike Hilton went through a similar situation these past 2 years. And the reason why it wasn't talked about as much is because he showed up to work every day. And you can look at it as a benefit or a negative. When you show up to work every day, the perception is you're happy, even though, he was trying to get that contract worked out the whole time. But he went about it that way because he felt like, hey, man, as long as I'm showing up, let the organization know I want to be here and I'm going to keep getting better. Whereas you have the other guys who take their approach like a Le'Veon did, and you see all the scrutiny that goes with that. So it's really just a personal preference. Neither is right or wrong in terms of getting the deal done, but one's a lot more heavy-handed.
Well, yeah, I think Le'Veon's, we've talked about this before, what made way more sense for him in his situation. Mm-hmm. They were going to give him a lot of carries that year, and he already was proven for 3-4 years already that he's an elite running back. So, everyone's got their own way of doing it. Did we miss anyone else in terms of Steeler moves? I know we obviously signed Derek Watt.
Yeah, we haven't got to that yet. We're just talking about everybody that was on. And Sean Davis, he signed with the Washington Redskins. Right. 1 year, $5 million. And who else signed? Trying to think, we re-signed long snapper Cam Kennedy.
Well, Javon Hargrave.
Oh, and Hargrave,
Yep.
Signed with the Eagles, man. A 3 year, was it 39?
It was like 13 a year.
Mm-hmm.